Hello, everyone. Welcome to another brand new episode of the ITU Forex class. In this week's episode, we're actually going to be talking about the truth about Forex trading, okay? So, we're going to be talking about the real truth behind Forex trading. Not what you've seen on the internet, on those Instagram gurus, highlight reels, and all of that. Just the truth about Forex trading, okay? So, first things first. What do I mean by the truth about forex trading when I say it like that? What I mean is, most times when people get involved in trading or when they are just starting to know trading, they usually get exposed to traders who show them or who make them unconsciously, subconsciously build unrealistic expectations about trading. When I say unrealistic expectations, okay, this is things like people thinking that they could just overnight, without learning the due processes, what they need to do, they could just overnight learn a trading method which they will use to trade the markets and place winning trades every single time. These traders, most of the times, even though they'll pay lip service to the fact that, okay, losses are part and parcel of the business and all of that, but it's this same traders who will come out to show you trades with trading accounts that are, relatively small or large. It doesn't really matter, but they are taking excessive risk on those accounts, which, if you are a trader who actually believes and really internalizes the fact that trading losses are part and parcel of trading, then there's absolutely no need for you to be taking unrealistic risk on your trading account, because you would, if you knew that the reality about trading, then you would know that this trade could go either way. Okay? And if you're showing people you're risking, millions on a trade, which most of the times is not even real funds, but if you're showing people that you're risking millions on a trade, then it doesn't really breed good character for those traders at all, because when they see things like this and they go out to trade the markets, they would think, it's going to be possible to do that with their small $1,000 or $100 account. Okay? And so most of the times, this doesn't help them. It actually hurts them. Okay? So, number two is the fact that some of these gurus, like I told you, would admit to the fact that, okay, losses are part and parcel of trading, but others who are clueless at best would make them realize that if you are losing for whatever reason, maybe because they don't even know any better, if they'll make them realize that if you're losing, then you just don't have the right trading strategy or the right trading processes, which is a complete lie. Because you could have the best trading strategy in the world, but losses are inevitable. Look at traders who have made names. I'm not talking about Instagram gurus and all of that. I'm talking about traders, real traders, who have made names for themselves. People like Richard Dennis, people like Warren Buffett and all of that. He's an investor, obviously. But these guys will not tell you that all of the calls or all of the trades they place or all of the bets they make, that they are 100% winners. In fact, quite the contrary. For people like Richard Dennis, he's a trend trader, obviously. So, in fact, the method that he uses, and that's the same method which he taught his turtle traders to trade with, its win rate is not even up to 50%. So they are more often than not, they are wrong for the calls of the trades that they make, and they're only right about 40 something percent of the time. But even at that, they still manage to end up making profits. And that's simply because usually the size of their losses are capped and the size of their profits are usually larger, much larger than the size of their average losses. And so even though their win rates are kind of low, the profits they make from their winning trades are more than enough to compensate and cover up for the losses that they incur through their losing trades. And this pretty much brings us to one of the main theme of what we're going to be learning in today's class. You see, trading is not a game of predictions, even though it might be portrayed as such by a lot of people who don't know any better. People think when you tell them that you're a trader, they would ask you things like, what do you think is going to happen to the gold prices in the next month or the next week or tomorrow, whatever the case might be? They think because you say you're a trader, then automatically you should know what price is going to do in the next however long period they decide to ask you. And that's not how it works. Because the reality is, when you're a trader, you're not predicting the markets, or that's not even your job. Your main job as a trader is to become a risk manager, because you are just in the business of making as much money as you can from the markets when you're right, and then limiting your losses for the times when you're wrong. And most of the times, you're going to be wrong more often than you're right. The only thing that's going to help you is knowing when to cut your losses short and let your profits run. That's how this business is. That's how you make money in this business. So to give you an example, two traders, two completely different traders. One trader might have a 70% win rate trading strategy or trading methodology and still lose money, while another trader could lose 70% of the time. So he basically has only a 30% win rate and still make money trading. The fact is, your win rate does nothing. It tells us nothing about your profitability as a trader. And just like I hinted at, the reason behind this is because there are two numbers you need to focus on in relation to your win rate that is going to tell you the truth of the matter. So if the person who is trading with a 70% win rate trading strategy, let's say for an example of 100 trades, for example, that person, whenever he loses like something like $100, okay? $100, this is his average loss. But then whenever he makes a profit, he only closes his winning trades with a profit of $20, okay? So in this case, this would mean that for the 70 losing trades that he took, where he was risking 100, where he actually lost $100 because he was risking $100, his gross loss would be minus, if I'm not mistaken, my math is minus $7,000. Minus $7,000. This is his gross loss. Okay? How about his profits? Remember, he was right only 30% of the time. And so the 30 trades that he took, because they were the winning trades, the average winning trade brought in a profit of $20. And so 30 times the 20 here would end up with would end up with 600. Okay, and this is, let me quickly pick up my calculator because the math is a little off here. So, good. So, 70 losing trades, and then each time he loses $100. Yep, $7,000, exactly. And then the 30 winning trades that he took, each time he wins, he only makes a profit of $20. $600, exactly. So now in this case, when you subtract the gross profit from the gross loss, from the gross profit, you'd end up with negative, let's see, negative $6,400. Okay? Negative $6,400. Just think about this for a bit. Okay? This guy was right more times than he was wrong. But then he still ended up with a net loss of minus $6,400. Okay? Now, what of the other side of the equation? Okay? What of the other side of the equation? Let me quickly move this calculator a little bit. Let me move it here. Okay? So, let's say for the person who was trading with a 30% win rate, he was trading with, we've talked about risk to reward ratios in this class, so by now I think you should know what they are. It's a relation between what you're risking to what you're making on average on every trade you take. Okay? So, let's say this person is trading with a 30% win rate, and he did the same thing. He took the same 100 trades that this guy took, but in this case, he won exactly, let's say 30 out of the 100 trades that he took. So his winning trades are only 30, his losing trades are 70, and he took 100 trades, okay? So let's say he was trading with a 1:5 risk to reward ratio, okay? So if he's risking $1, on average, he's aiming to make a profit of $5 in return. And that's part of the reason why his win rate is very low. Because think about it. If you're trading with a 1:5 risk to reward ratio, and on average, the trade you take, you're risking like 20 pips to make 100, because 100 is 5 times what 20 is. Obviously, because price is much closer to your stop loss than it is to your take profit, your take profit is 5 times further than your stop loss in this case, then it's going to be much easier for price to hit your stop loss than it is for it to hit your take profit. And because of that, you'd more often than not get price hitting your stop loss more than it is hitting your take profit. And so it's not uncommon for traders who are trading with a high reward to risk ratio to have a very small win rate. That's just the point I'm trying to make across here. So let's say this guy took 100 trades, 70 were losing trades, and so every time he lost only $100. The same with the example we did earlier on. And so his gross loss is going to be minus $7,000. Okay? But then when he won, his profit, because he's risking $100 to make $500, then the 30 trades that he won, each one brought in a profit of $500. Okay? And so in this case, 30 times 500. And if I'm not mistaken, that should be around $15,000. Let's say 30 times $500. Okay? Yes, $15,000. So that is a profit of, let me quickly pick my pen here. That is a profit of $15,000. Exactly $15,000. Exactly. So now, when you subtract this gross loss from this gross profit, the gross profit is $15,000, obviously, and the gross loss is minus $7,000. So in this case, this guy would still end up with a net profit of $8,000. Even though if a beginner was to ask both of these traders only their win rate, he is more often than not, he's more likely to get more impressed with the win rate of the trader who will tell him he has a 70% win rate trading strategy or trading methodology than he is. In fact, he's going to be sorry for the guy who is having a 30% win rate if win rate was the only thing they told him about their trading. Okay? And that's why win rate on its own doesn't mean anything, because you could win more times than you lose and still end up being, just like I showed you with this example, and still end up losing money. And you could lose more times than you win if you're practicing proper risk management with, the right things you're supposed to do, still end up making a serious profit from your trading. Okay? It really, win rate doesn't mean anything. You have to combine win rate with how much you make when you're winning, and also how much you lose when you lose, or when you're losing on average, for it to actually mean anything. And that's why expectancy as a number is much more important, as a trading metric, is much more important than win rate. Because when we're talking about the expectancy figure, the formula expectancy, okay, when we're talking about the expectancy figure, okay, the formula for expectancy is your average win times, that's your percentage of your win, okay? So let's say winning percentage, win rate, minus your average loss, which I'll just show with AL here, times your losing percentage, losing rate. And the number you're going to get is going to give you expectancy. So if we were to work out our expectancy for this particular examples that we did, what you want in trading is to have a positive expectancy, because if you have a positive expectancy figure, that's going to mean that over time, if you keep trading with the methodology you're trading with, if you have a positive expectancy, then it is not out of the realm of reality. It is expected that you're going to end up making a profit. And so in this case, if you have a positive expectancy, a positive expectancy figure, let's see what the expectancy for these two example traders would be. So for the first one, we have 70%. Let's just say 0.7, okay? Because we've changed it from percentage to just the figure, okay? So let's say your win rate in this case is 70%, but then the average win you make, remember, is $20. So 0.7 times 20, we have 14, okay? Now keep that number in mind, okay? So what's your loss rate? In this case, it's 30%, let's say 0.3. And what's your average loss times 100? Okay? Okay, so remember, 14 was the first number. So we'd say 14 minus 30. In this case, the expectancy of this first trader is minus $16. So there's absolutely no way this guy would make profits, because every trade he places, on average, it is expected that over time, win or lose, he's going to be losing $16. But what is the expectancy of the second guy? The second guy, his expectancy is going to be, remember the formula, average win times win rate minus average loss times loss rate. So in this case, for this guy, the average win, his average win is $500, while his win rate is 0.30, remember 30%. So it's 150 minus, what's his average loss? His losing rate is 0.7 times 100. So in this case, it's going to be 150 minus 70. So here, his expectancy is $80. It's expected that each trade he places, win or lose, over time, he's going to make an average of $80. So if he places, because his expectancy is $80, if he places 100 trades, which is the number we got here, he's expected to make $8,000. If he was to place 1,000 trades with the same expectancy, it's expected that he'll make around let's say $800 per trade. Okay, but $80,000 all in all, because you're just going to multiply this number, the expectancy number, by the number of trades you're going to take, which is this. Okay, so you see, more than asking a trader for a win rate, or what's his win rate, or what's his loss rate, or what's his win rate, or what's his risk to reward ratio, you should ask them for their expectancy. And if they don't know how to work that out, just like I showed you here, you can ask them to tell you, okay, what's their win rate? And then from their win rate, you can just work out their loss rate, and then ask them for what their average winning figure is, and what their average losing figure is. And then you just plug it into the formula and find out if they have a positive expectancy or a negative expectancy. In trading, if you have a negative expectancy trading methodology, over time, you see, just like we have graphs in trading, okay? Equity chart graphs or balance curves or anything that is going up and up and up and up, which is what we want, because that means we're making money. Then when you see a trader have a positive expectancy, that's basically telling you that over time this guy is going to have an upsloping equity curve, because he's going to be making money. While if you see a trader with a negative expectancy, you are expecting that over time he's going to lose money, because his expectancy is negative. So over time, okay, he's going to lose money. And so the equity curve or the balance chart or anything is going to continually go down. So this is basically the reality of trading. It's not the one thing I want you to take away from this class is the fact that when you're trading these markets, do yourself a favor and accept it deep inside your heart that losses are part and parcel of this business and you cannot escape them. Trying to do that is a fool's errand. You're never going to be able to escape losses. In fact, most of the times, the traders who really make a killing in this business, most times they tend to lose more trades than they win on average. It's just they regard it as the cost of doing business. That's just all it is. Okay? And that's the relationship I want you to have with losses, because when you truly accept, okay, that losses are part and parcel of the business, then you're not going to play with practicing proper risk management. And at the end of the day, when you practice proper risk management with a trading strategy that's got a positive expectancy or an edge over the market, then it is very, very highly likely that you'd end up making a profit from the market as opposed to you losing. And so please don't play with this, and just have it at the back of your mind that whatever trading methodology you're using, losses are normal. And so that's part of the reason why risk management is so important, because we know that we cannot win 100% of the time, and trying to do that is just a fool's errand. So we should prepare for losses so that when they do occur, which they are inevitably going to do, we are well prepared to protect ourselves from them. Okay? So this pretty much brings us to the end of this week's edition of the class. But before we wrap up, I would like to use this opportunity as usual to invite you guys to test out our suite of ITU bots, which are trading robots or expert advisors that are designed to look for low risk, high probability trading opportunities on your behalf, and then place those trades for you, manage those trades, and have you up and running in as little time as possible. Okay, so if you're interested, please reach out to us on any of our social handles or drop a comment in the comment section. I'll be more than happy, and we will be more than happy to guide you through setting up everything step by step in no time. Once again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in next week's edition of the class. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and God bless you all. Cheers.